Hey everyone, welcome to our studio show here. It's round 10 of the MXGP Motocross World Championship. And we are in Italy at the infamous circuit, the iconic circuit of Maggiora. Coming up on today's show, we've got Aleksandr Tonkov, we've got Jake Nichols, and also Johny O'Mara, who was victorious for Team USA at the 1986 Motocross of Nations right here at Maggiora. But before we go any further, let's take a quick look at what happened at round 9. Here's some highlights from race 2 in MXGP, race 2. When the gate dropped for MX2 race 2, once again, Tim Geiser just getting buried in the early stages. 10-12 yards out of the gate as Jeffrey Hurlings once again romped to another foxhole shot. Tonus was better placed this time around, but Valentin Guyot got it all wrong on the step up, almost taking out 243 Geiser, and behind him, carnage as Monticelli, Julian Lieber, and a few others also crashed out. But at the front end, Jose Boutron, number 17 on the Silver Action KTM, started losing ground to Romain Febvre, Jordi Tixier, and soon the 243 Garibaldi Honda rider of Tim Geiser. These guys battling for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th place. On lap 7, Jordi Tixier made his move into 3rd, passing the 461 and fellow Frenchman Romain Febvre. Geiser then carved his way down the inside of Febvre, briefly taking 4th position away from the French Husqvarna rider. But Febvre fought back immediately and kept the Slovenian Geiser at bay. Dylan Ferrandis on the CLS Kawasaki Monster Energy machine was just behind them in 6th place, but was never really a threat to these two riders here, Febvre and Geiser, despite being urged on by his pit crew. Jeffrey Hurlings was always around about 2 or 3 seconds clear of Onno Tonus in the early parts of the race, but eventually Tonus would start to drop back, leaving Tixier to battle all by himself in 3rd place. The circuit here at Saint-Jean-d'Angely, more than a match for the riders. Hard, slick, lots of rocks, throttle control absolutely paramount, but it was Jeffrey Hurlings who mastered the tricky conditions en route to a double moto victory. And that win now sees Jeffrey Hurlings on 39 career victories. He also extends his lead over Onno Tonus in the battle for the World Championship in MX2. So your podium then, Hurlings, Tonus and Tixier here in France. Right, that's it then. That was a quick highlight of what happened in France a couple of weeks ago. But Aleksandr Tonkov, the Wilvona Star and Husqvarna factory rider, is with me now. Welcome to Italy. It's a pretty big step up for you this year, isn't it? 2014. I guess the biggest team you've ever ridden for, a full factory team. How's it going so far?
It's going pretty good, you know. We have some up and downs, and yeah, like I said, we start pretty good this season, you know. We have some good results on the beginning, but after I was struggling a little bit with the setting on the bike, and like now we're getting closer on that, like, you know, how the bike I want, you know, because I never ride before the bikes like European, you know. I always ride on Japan bikes, so it's pretty different, but you know, we just need to find some good setting. I feel like we're getting closer every weekend.
Having ridden on private teams, riding in a factory team, is it what you expected? Or were you expecting more, maybe?
I think it's like always, you expect something, you know, crazy, but, you know, it's just good, you know, you have always a good material, you know, you have a big group of people behind you, you know, who always try to make you better and the bike better, so it's pretty good, you know. Like last year I ride for like my team, you know, the private team, so it was, you know, it was also a good season, you know. Like we remember here in Maggiora, it was a pretty good weekend for us, and I hope this year with the factory team we can make also something, you know, special.
You and Roman, your teammate, made a good start in Qatar, both running sort of top 5, top 6 positions in both motos. Were you surprised at how quick the Husqvarna was able to be challenging for those positions so early in the season?
Yeah, that's like when I ride the first time the bike, I was already like, so, oh, the bike is good, you know. It wasn't like we don't need to work so much to put that bike, you know, in the good place, you know. Now we can say this is one of the best bike in the paddock, you know, so that's what you need, you know, now.
Looking at the results so far,
I would say Brazil in the first race was probably your best ride so far. You know, you ran third for, I think, until 4 laps to go. And then you made a small mistake. How was the Brazil weekend for you? And I guess, did that give you a lot of confidence from that race?
I cannot say about the confidence so much, but it was just a good weekend. You know, I have a good start. I was just riding my race, and yeah, I make that mistake. So it's also was a little bit from the setting. You know what, I was struggle a little bit on the position, and yeah, I hope we fix that, and today and tomorrow we will have a better traction also.
How was the track this year in Brazil?
Oh, it was tough, you know, especially second moto after the rain. It was deep ruts. It was slippery. It was tough track, you know. It was really technical. The jumps, actually, I like the track, you know. The jumps, it's fast, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
And obviously, again, you know, the success between you and your teammate continued there. It seemed the first few races you two were pretty much locked together: 5th, 6th, 4th, 5th, you know, 7th, 8th.
Yeah, it was
slight mistake. What happened there actually? Lose the front?
Yeah, I lost the front. It was pretty slick from the rain, and I didn't know what I want to do there. I just like kind of want to exit a little bit earlier to find a better traction or something, and in the end I just lose the traction. So yeah.
But after that, the next few GPs seemed a little bit up and down, a little bit inconsistent. Why was that?
It starts a little bit. I start testing many things like air shocks, and I start doing so many things, you know, like I want to try that, and I kind of lose, you know. I don't know what direction to go. I don't know, I do something bad or it's the bike or something, you know. So now I stop testing so much, I just want to find kind of, you know, my setting and ride with that, you know.
But then you arrive at Matterley and it seemed to click again, didn't it? You're running top 3 again.
Yeah, second moto was good, Matterley Bison, and again I make a mistake, like 8 minutes to go or something like that. So yeah, I was not happy with that for sure, and you know I struggle a little bit with the starts last races. So yeah, that's, you know, now on the GP, like we have so like strong group, you know, like the top 10 guys is really strong, you know. So if you take a bad start, it's really hard to go to the top 3 or top 5. So if you want to ride there, you need to have a good start.
Yeah, and we just saw there from Matterley, you know, you were running third for I think around 10, 11 laps, something like that. Why did you drop back in the end? Was it, as you said, just fitness a little bit, or you just...
Not really. I was feeling amazing with the fitness, everything. It's just I make one small mistake and I see the guys they catch me a little bit, and I get a little bit like nervous, you know, stressed, and I start to ride tight, and yeah, like, you know, like a kid. I'm still a kid, so it's okay.
How are you and Roman getting on now? I know in the beginning there was a little bit of tension between you two from Italian Championship. I know I spoke to Jackie, your team manager, when he came on the studio show earlier on in the year, and said, you know, it's almost like he put you in the same room, sharing the same room, sitting everybody down at dinner and this kind of thing. But has all that kind of blown over now that we're into the season and you're getting on okay?
But now we don't spend so much time together, you know. I'm do my thing, he do his thing, so we didn't see. I just see him at the races and that's it, you know. Because like last 2 weeks I was almost holiday because I crashed in France, so I didn't see nobody. I just landed yesterday and I came straight to the track. So that's kind of it's everything right now.
Yeah. Well, we are back in Italy, and obviously this Italian Grand Prix last year was remembered for quite a few reasons. One, the excellent battle between Gauthier Paul and Antonio Tony Cairoli in MX1 race 2, but also your crashes through the final corner, and but that weekend for you was a pretty good weekend, and you almost arrived, didn't you, last year? You won the qualifying race, and you're running good positions well, you're challenging Hurlings and Boutron in the first race.
You know, I was not disappointed about what they disqualify me. I was just happy with my riding, you know, what I did, you know, because the result okay, you know, but yeah, we can see. But I mean, for sure, for me, the riding was good last year. I never see so long Jeffrey Hernix, you know, he's back even, like, and here he was like behind me full qualifier race, and even Saturday I can lead like for like, I don't remember how many laps, but I mean, yeah, it was amazing weekend, you know. The Italian fans, it's crazy because I live pretty long time here, I know many people, and it feels amazing to ride. He's like home GP for me almost.
So obviously looking at that race, you were in third when you crashed. You were second or third in the second race. So you had a missed opportunity to get your first podium.
Yeah, it was, I think, second overall if they don't disqualify me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. But like happy I did the podium after that race. So
Yeah. And what about the track now? From my side, it looks great. You've had a morning warm-up this morning.
yeah.
How's it riding
No, the track,
this stage now compared to last year?
track is amazing. Like last year, they make some jumps a little bit bigger, you know, and yeah, and like I said, it's a little bit harder this year, you know, because I heard they expect the rain. That's why they didn't rip it so much. So, but yeah.
Yeah, and then they didn't water so much as
Yeah.
well.
It's as well, and it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard. So for me, actually, it's better because after the injury, I didn't train, and then yeah, I prefer that conditions, and it's gonna be rough and ruts everywhere. So, but we see how it's gonna be the weather condition, if it's gonna be rain or not. I hope tomorrow it's gonna be some good racing here.
All right. And what about the rest of the season? How close are you from getting a podium?
You know, it's all matter of luck, and I think on the moment, because like you can see, I don't know, so many people can go on the podium, you know. It's just about luck and your position from the start, you know. If you can get a too good start and just stay on two wheels, you can go on the podium, you know. So that's what I'm working on, stay on two wheels, because that's what I'm missing a little bit on the moment. We see how it goes, yeah.
All right. Well, look, Aleksandr Tonkov, thanks for coming in today. Before we welcome our next guest, let's take a quick look at what happened in MXGP Race 2 from France 2 weeks ago at Saint-Jean-d'Angely.
Tony Cairoli rocketed out of the start in MXGP Race 2 and, not surprisingly, pulled another foxhole shot, pulling clear of his rivals as he went through turn 1. On board with the Richie TM of Davide Guarnieri as he heads up the hill. Sean Simpson, though, who made a good start, tagged the rear wheel of one of the other guys, went down and got hit by the wild card of Fabien Isouard. Simpson would eventually pick himself up and fight back to an heroic 10th place by the time the checkered flag fell. Cairoli was up front, though. DeSalle was second, Van Horbik third, Frossard 183 was fourth. Cairoli rode his luck occasionally as Xavier Borg crashed out of 10th. David Philipparts crashed and inadvertently took out Kevin Strybos. Kevin Strybos would eventually come home in 13th place. Tony Cairoli, Clement DeSalle, Jeremy Van Horbik and Stephen Frossard set the pace in the early laps of Moto number 2. Very rare that we saw a mistake from Tony Cairoli whilst leading the race. That's exactly what happened in Moto number 1. And it was all because Clement DeSalle applied the pressure. The French fans urging on all the riders as Cairoli tried desperately to pull clear of the Rockstar Energy Suzuki and the Yamaha factory machine of Van Horbik. But 2 laps to go. Guess what? Another mistake from Cairoli. He lost the front end, too much front brake, and Clement DeSalle tiptoed his way around the inside and back into the lead. So too did Jeremy Van Horbik. That meant that the Sicilian was now in 3rd place with a lot of work to do. DeSalle still couldn't relax because Van Horbik and Cairoli were pushing in, but the flag went out. It was a double moto win for DeSalle. Van Horbik was 2nd, Cairoli was 3rd. That was also the overall podium. And it was DeSalle's 3rd Grand Prix victory of the season, and Tony Cairoli's 28-point lead has been slashed to 20 as we go to Italy in 2 weeks' time. Your overall podium then: Rockstar Energy Suzuki, Clement DeSalle, Yamaha Factory Racing, Jeremy Van Horbik 2nd, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, Tonio Cairoli 3rd. Still holds on to the red plate. He'll be looking forward to going home.
Right, quick look back at what happened in France a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, my next guest didn't feature as highly as he wanted to, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. Jake Nichols from Wilvo Fork Rank KTM. But obviously a new challenge for you, stepping up from MX2 last year into the big boys class, you know, in MXGP. We've got some footage of you from Matterley last year we're going to kick off with, because obviously, you know, we're so used to seeing you running for podiums, top threes, top fives, that kind of thing. Obviously, Matterley Basin last year, you got a fantastic podium. Are you missing those days?
Yeah, I am a bit, to be honest with you, yeah. But I remember the days where I was building up, you know, up to the last 2 years in MX2 as well. So I'm just basically focusing on what I did in those years, my early years in MX2, and yeah, trying to do the same, you know, working hard and building up to what I'm capable of.
Yeah, obviously, you know, as we said, Matterley Basin last year, British Grand Prix, challenging in the first race, Dean Ferris, who obviously won the first race. How great was that, as an MX2 rider, going there, riding your home GP and challenging? Obviously, I think you finished second in the second race. Missed the podium overall by about 2 points or something like that.
Yeah, it was great, you know, because up until that point, I'd never really, you know, I'd been, I think the year before I finished 5th overall, and you know, the year before that, like 7th or something. So I'd never really been in the running for a podium or a win. So yeah, like you said, the first race I was, you know, second behind Dean, and you know, at one point I was catching him, and then it kind of stayed the same. And the second race I actually didn't do as good as I could have because I got a bad start, and I came from a long way back and fought to 5th, and like, yeah, the crowd were, you know, I think the commentator there were, you know, saying if he gets one more place he would be on the first overall, and you know, I only managed 5th and got second overall, but you know, I was gutted when I came over the line because they said, yeah, 1 point, but at the same time I was over the moon because, you know, it was my second podium, but first time second overall, and obviously in the home Grand Prix is nothing better. So yeah, it was a great feeling.
And obviously MX2 days are well and truly behind you now, stepping up, as I said, into MXGP. It's not as easy as everybody thinks, is it?
No, definitely not. You know, it's a massive change. Obviously, you got you know, the 200 cc's more on the bike, but you know, weight on the bike, you know, they're heavier, and also, you know, like everybody's gone in MX1 has gone through those early years of racing, and they're all, you know, in their 20s, and they're a lot more experienced, and you don't have the time where in MX2 you could start in 10th place and on the first lap, and 2 laps later without passing one you'll be in 6th because of the mistakes people are making or crashes. And you can't rely on that in MX1 because everyone's, you know, they're smart and they're strong, and they don't fade either. You know, at the end of the race, everyone's as strong as they were at the start, if not better. You know, so it's totally different. But I'm enjoying it. It's a new challenge, like I said, and like I just said as well. You know, I want to build up like I did in my early years of MX2. It's been an up and down year so far, obviously, but you know, I've shown that I've got the speed and everything. So just try and keep building to you know, the next couple of years, really.
And people automatically assume that because you're quite a big guy. What are you, 6'2"?
Just 6 foot, to be honest.
Foot.
But yeah.
But you know, you're a strong lad as well. That going from an MX2 where your weight might have a disadvantage on the start, that kind of thing. You know, you jump on a big bike and they go, right, Jake, made for 450s. But it's a different thing racing one on a weekend in aggression than it is just going and riding one in the week and saying, oh, I could ride one of these next year, no problem.
Yeah, 100%. You know, like in the week I ride really well, and to be honest, on the 250 I was never a very good practicer. You know, midweek we'd go with other riders, and I was never that sharp compared to other people, but I was more of a racer. Whereas 450 now, naturally, you know, I ride the thing the better. But like you said at the start of the year, well, up until now, really, it's been a learning curve in racing situation because you have to deal with anger, frustration when you're racing it, and you can't let that get the better of you because you've got that much more power. A big handful of throttle on a 450 can put you off the track, whereas 250 you could kind of handle it. And like you said, I'm a bit bigger, so 250 I could throw it around. And 450 I can't quite throw it around as much, but I still feel well in control for my first year. So,
But obviously, don't forget, you know, you started off the year with an injury as well, didn't you? Must have been pretty frustrating those first few races.
Yeah, it was. You know, I broke a bone in my back only 3.5 weeks before the first GP, so it was, you know, it was a difficult start. And the first 3 Grand Prix, I didn't ride once in between the races, and obviously there was a lot of travelling and everything. And yeah, it was really, really hard to get some momentum. And to be honest, I'm still trying to find a little bit of momentum, but I've got it in my actual riding, just the race momentum, you know. And obviously last time out in France, that really, you know, disrupted it, if you like. I'd had 2 really good races up until that point, but a little bit out of my hands.
Yeah. But no problems now with the injury? Everything okay?
No, everything's good. Only a few little exercises that I do that I forget about, that, you know, it's still weaker on one side of my lower back, but I never feel it riding or anything, and you know, I'm healthy. I'm a lot healthier than I was last year because I'm not trying to be as light as I can. I'm sort of just being my own weight, strong, and yeah, much healthier.
But after a tough start, an injury that you're now over, it seemed to click for you in Spain, didn't it? A career best in MXGP with 6th in the second race.
Yeah, that's it. I think that was a mix of things, but a lot of frustration building up to that because all weekend I'd been, you know, top 7 or something in times, and
That's right. Just looking at, I'm just remembering now, just watching this clip. It's a good job we didn't show the first start.
I know, yeah, right in the gate.
At the gate, on board, GoPro.
But yeah, you know, all weekend I had good times. In the first race, yeah, like you said, I hit the gate, and it was just, you know, the only thing I could manage was 13th, coming from last on a track where a lot of people were, you know, there were small margins. And second race, I got an average start, but didn't crash, and you know, rode hard early on and got myself into 7th, and got gifted 6th by Bobryshev, and you know, I showed that I can ride that pace because I was running, you know, top 3 times and had the 3rd best lap in the race, and you know, it was nice than anything just to be able to say, yeah, there you go, like I can do it, and showing it.
This was one of the highlights for me. I'm not sure if we'll pick it up actually. No, we didn't. But Jake Nichols, when he came in after that race, because the GoPro was still filming, when he parked the bike against the truck, was just like, yes.
Yeah.
Was that just relief for you, just to know that suddenly and finally you know, knocking on the door for top 5,
yeah,
well inside the top 10?
Yeah, exactly. You know, like I said, it'd been massive frustration up until that point, the injury, and then up and down learning curve in the 450, which I, you know, it took a lot to stomach that I wasn't going to go straight into the top 10. You know, and riding around in the 15th places, and knowing that I can ride top 10 speed-wise, and working so hard in the week, and it all just showed that one clip. It was just like, yes, thankfully, you know, it's paid off.
There was more to that clip actually a little bit later on, but it's a family show. But all that came just in time for Matterley, didn't it? You know, British Grand Prix again, and 2 solid scores.
Yeah, that's it. You know, I was pretty confident coming into there after Spain. You know, like I said, I'd been feeling good, and I really like Matterley track. So you know, it was all looking good, and yeah, I didn't get good starts again, but that's the kind of track where you can really you know, sweep the outsides and make a lot happen. And unfortunately, the second race we had a small issue where we lost a bit of oil on the bike, and I dropped from a fight for 5th place back to 9th, which cost me like a little bit, but you know, it was a really good, fun weekend with a lot of you know, hard fought positions.
How was the atmosphere there? There's a lot of mixed feelings on it. You know, a decent crowd, but just didn't seem as vocal this year. I mean, how was it as a rider's point of view? Because you're the one that gets right, you know, really close to the barriers, and you're the one that hears all of that more than we do the other side of the valley. Yeah,
to me, it was just as good as the year before, to be honest with you, because like you see here, I was in a battle with Tommy in front of me and Sean behind, so it was like, yeah, 3 Brits just going at it, and you know, it was so loud for us 3, I guess, and you know, it was brilliant. But yeah, I mean, I guess for overall, maybe it wasn't as loud, but as a rider, it was still brilliant, and we had massive support. So
yeah, and again, you know, Spain 6th in the second race, 2 solid rides there. I guess you're really looking forward to France, but it never really worked out for you, did it? Which is a shame, really.
Yeah, that's it. You know, I quite like St John. It's always actually been a bit of a tough track for me on Sunday. I've never really had that great results there, but you know, this time it was just out of my hands, really. We had a few issues in both races, and unfortunately the first one, yeah, could only get 1 point because I had a problem just before the start of the race, and then I crashed in the first corner, and then the second one, yeah, the bike just wasn't going. So. Unfortunate, but you know, out of my hands, like I said, and I've kept my head held high and worked hard, had a nice weekend off, and yeah, looking forward to this weekend.
But generally, you feel like you're going in the right direction in terms of speed, fitness, consistency, all those things?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I've since the injury up until now, I've been building up. It's been difficult, obviously, not trying to do too much midweek because obviously you've got to be fit for the weekend, but you know, recovering from an injury. But now, like I said, it's long way behind me, and you know, I feel good. And every week I'm learning more on the 450, and we're still developing it. You know, trying to get little bits. But the main thing now is the starts, because I'm struggling on starts, and I've always been quite a good starter. And this year they haven't been good enough. And yeah, in Matterley and in Spain, I proved that I can come from behind. But it's, you know, why make it harder for yourself if we can give ourselves a head start, literally.
So get some starts. You should be running inside the top 10 on a regular basis?
Yeah, that's what we're going for. Yeah.
Right. Oh, cool. Well, Jake Nichols, thanks for joining us here. And Jake obviously riding for Wilvo Fortrek KTM in the MXGP class a little bit later on. Right, it's competition time. And just as always, you can obviously get the chance to win on MXGP TV and also on the Facebook page. So just as usual, the top 3 riders, if you guess correctly, in MXGP and MX2 this weekend, you get the chance to win. It's a new competition this weekend, actually. Pro Grip Replica Kit. And I'm thinking that's maybe the colours of the Wilvo and Astan boys, Tonkov and Fevre. And, you know, and obviously that's a pretty special kit to win. But also you get the MXGP official video game, and also MXGP TV access. And as we are halfway through the season now, we do have a mid-season 50% sale on MXGP season package, including the 2 days live from the Monster Energy Motocross of the Nations in Latvia. So obviously for that one, go to mxgptv.com for more information. And for the competition in terms of guessing the MXGP and MX2 riders, the top 3, then go to our MXGP Facebook page. Right, our final guest has just entered the booth, and I'm pleased to say that Johny O'Mara, who is a 1983 125 AMA champion, 1984 AMA Supercross champion, is a 4-time Motocross of Nations winner, and he's here now. He's also a 3-time Grand Prix winner as well. Johny O'Mara, welcome to Italy. 28 years after probably the most famous day that this circuit has ever seen, the 1986 Motocross of Nations. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
First of all, why are you here, apart from to see some great racing in the World Championship?
I had the invite from the major people to be here because of the GP being back here. So, you know, a couple months ago they asked if I would consider it, and found time to be here, and I'm glad I'm here.
And obviously, Road to Recovery. Obviously, we had the dinner last night. You were there. You were the main special guest. What is Road to Recovery? What does it do?
Well, it's a non-profit organization to help with injured riders that get injured in racing and stuff like that, and they didn't have maybe any insurance and stuff for medical bills, and try to help their life a little bit after motocross. So obviously, we had. That's why I was here last night, and we made some money for that, and that'll go to a good cause later.
Yeah, and obviously you met some wonderful people up there as well, catching up with some old friends. Jean-Michel Bell was there, Alex Pouzard, James Dobby, who helped to organise it as well, and Stefan Everts, all successful riders over the years. Probably all just kind of around the time that you were just coming towards the end of your career. But as a rider, we know you for the things that you did in outdoor and Supercross and the Nations and those kind of things as a European fan. But how did it all start for you, growing up in SoCal?
Pretty typical, like what you might hear of a motocross racer when they start. I was 5 years old, just riding around with my father, stuff like that, and you know, something that I just always had a passion for, and just a hobby. And as I gotten a little older, I started racing when I was 10, and it must have been 6 or 7 more years after that, I was already the dominant guy in Southern California as a expert professional level. And then that's when I was noticed and was able to get that first contract that I had with the Mugen Honda team.
Yeah, and how did that transition kind of happen then, you know, from amateur to pro? Because before you were a pro rider, before you actually won a national, you won a US GP in a 125 class, mid-Ohio, riding that Mugen Honda, which you just sort of said.
Yeah, it was definitely different back then, where, you know, because basically I was the #1 guy in all Southern California, and I could just about beat any factory guy that would come to our tracks that we had, the winter series, you know, summer series, and back then that was enough to get noticed.
Yeah.
And I had pretty good people around me. I had a good manager, and that was like guiding me down that path that I needed to go. And so I was pretty highly visible already as a teenager, and thought out by quite a few manufacturers already. And then I ended up taking the Mugen ride that came over. It was kind of perfect for me because it was very unique. you know, a lot of people didn't know who I was. And I'm sitting on this white, beautiful, like Formula One type motorcycle.
A lot of people didn't even know what a Mugen was really then either. It was almost like the factory bike that you could buy over the counter, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was like a fairy tale how it went. Like I couldn't have been the luckiest guy. I felt like I was the luckiest guy to be able to sit on that thing and race that thing. Sure, it was so different, but I also, my whole career, I always liked being a little bit different, you know, like I was really into how I looked, my style and everything, so I was like a perfectionist, and I think every time I went out there, I was like, sure, I'm a racer, but also I was a showman too. Like I think that's why they always gave me the nickname the O Show, because I felt like I was always entertaining people too, and so I really worked on my style and obviously my speed, and I put it all in place, and I think that's why a lot of people still remember me and enjoyed my riding style and my commitment to racing.
From a European fans' perspective, you know, we remember you for your exploits in the Motocross of Nations, the Motocross des Nations as it was referred to back then, Motocross of Nations now, of course. But you were a member of the first team to win, 1981, down at Lommel. How big a deal was that for you? Because last night you were talking about it, saying that you were pretty much seen as a B team, definitely coming out of the US.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, like, sure, I was young and stuff, but I already knew what the Motocross of Nations was. I mean, I did my homework, and I knew that we hadn't won that and stuff like that. And so the fact that they took all of us from the Honda team with Roger DeCoster, Dave Arnold, was some other key people to bring us down there. And then go to that famous track that we all heard, Lommel.
Yeah, Lommel.
Okay, cool. They're even showing some clips here. Awesome. But yeah, it was great. I think we went there not even really being, from what I remember, I didn't even seem that nervous. You know, it was just something like doing our thing, and we had a great great deal. We won that both weekends.
Yeah, and you won a couple more. Then you arrived here in 1986 at Maggiora. I mean, the occasion was just immense, wasn't it? Was that probably the single biggest race that you'd ever attended as a motocross racer, the 1986 Nations here in Maggiora, in terms of a crowd perspective?
Most likely. I mean, sure, we do Supercross where we fill stadiums at 80,000, but yeah, this
as an outdoor event.
Yeah, I don't think I had ever had 30,000 people at an outdoor race for sure. Yeah, it's phenomenal. Yes, it seems like yesterday, and what a one-day race for myself plus my teammates. Yeah, it was a great feeling.
Yeah, David Bailey and Ricky Johnson. But I mean, in terms of wins, how does that rate? On your win list, 16 national championships, including national wins, including Supercross and outdoor, and obviously you've got your nations victories. But how did that one? Because for those who don't know, and if they don't, where have you been? Probably one of the toughest, one of the strongest teams ever put together for a nations team anywhere in the world. And obviously since then you've been referred to as the dream team.
Right.
But on a scale of, all of your wins, where do you rate that victory?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely right there at the top. All my wins are very precious. I've always wanted to win all over the world, but yeah, that one day, I'd have to say, I was so on my game that I couldn't do anything wrong. So everything I did just. And you being a racer yourself, it was just one of those days where, all of us were that way. David was the same way, and Ricky. It was literally, like you said, the dream team. We definitely were all three in our prime, and we were very dominant in the U.S. No one beat us in the U.S. either. We were 1, 2, 3 at every race. So Honda had the strongest team then.
Because that was the other thing, wasn't it? It was unique in the fact that you were all Honda US riders rather than 3 different manufactured or 2 and 1 and that kind of thing.
Exactly. So
do you think that helped as well? Because sometimes we have that rivalry, don't we? Everybody's racing against each other, but you were 3 teammates. I'm guessing you got along. Maybe there's a little bit of rivalry in there, but for the cause of the nation, you came together and there was maybe just a little bit more gel sticking you guys together.
Yeah. Well, I think it always helps, but you just don't see that anymore. It doesn't work that way. But I was on teams also where Jeff Ward was on my team, Barnett, all that. But, when we come for the Des Nations, because it is the Olympics, we put our pride aside and we and we all work together. I mean, that's how it's got to work, and that's how it will only work if you want to have a chance to win. But yeah, with the fact that we had that team, that's why it's so high profile, because of David and Ricky and myself. We were the 3 best guys in the world, and we proved it that day.
Yeah.
But we were like that all year round. So we didn't think anything different coming to here to do the job that day.
Sure. Aside from the dinner last night for Road to Recovery, how does it feel to be back here 28 years on at this famous circuit? Changed a little bit since the day you were here.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but the main landscape is still here, and it's got that warm, fuzzy feel to me. It just feels good. It feels like I belong here, bottom line, except this time I'm just going to be watching.
Yeah. Racing's changed a lot over the years as well, though, hasn't it? Not just in the US, but over here in GPs, having raced GPs, 3 and won 3. Or did you ride more and win 3? Because you won Mid-Ohio, you won 1 in Switzerland. Actually, when I was doing my research on you, I know a lot about you from my time racing and that kind of thing and growing up in that kind of era. But I was surprised that there was a win there, and I thought it was a misprint. I asked you about it last night at the dinner. A win in Switzerland in the 125 class, how did that come about? Because it's not often you just come over for a one-off race. So was that leading into a Nations at that time, or was that just something as a one-off that I think Roger DeCosta, you said, arranged it?
Yeah, Roger arranged it, so that was the second time I was in Europe. All I can remember is that I think we had a little break in the United States, and we were just, back then especially, the budgets were bigger, and hey, why not just go, let's go do it. We thought it'd be something that would be pretty electric. People knew me from Motocross Nations that year. I stayed with Roger in Tremolo, Belgium. My mechanic was with me, and bam, we were just there for 5 days, and it just worked out great. So I don't think anything was any more than that. We didn't stay after or anything like that. I was on the Destinations team again later in September, but that was just like a 4 or 5 day trip. Came over, did it. It was fun.
Yeah.
And people are still talking about it. It was good.
Yeah. But in terms of, we are now here at the GP. You've coached guys over the years, on and off. Ricky probably being the most famous early on in his career. I know you don't like to take all the credit or a lot of the credit, that you were just a small cog in a big wheel and all that kind of thing. But you're working with Thomas Covington now. Obviously, Thomas Covington got a 3rd place finish in the 2nd race in Qatar, the opening round this year in MX2, the Monster Energy Kawasaki rider. And how did your relationship come about? And, we'll watch some of that in case you didn't see it from Qatar, the night race, of course. How did it come about, and what are you helping him with?
Yeah, well, I met Thomas through his dad. His dad's, you guys know who he is. He works at Monster and all that. And I also have a good friend that, I was working with James Stewart prior to Thomas, and they just asked, hey, what are you going to be doing? Like, are you going to stay with James? And at that time I said, I doubt that I am. I'm probably just going to move on and do something else. And that's when would you consider helping this fast amateur kid? And I'm like, I've always heard his name. And actually I was kind of liking it because I knew I wasn't going to have to travel as much, spend a little bit of time with my family at home, and I was a little bit burnt out on the pro thing, and this and that. So it went together pretty easy. And but yeah, that's been quite a project, for him to get him to where he is now, pro debut. The plan was to get him to the USA as a pro, not Europe. So it changed a little bit there in the last couple months, but I'm okay with it because I can sense that that's he's got a love for it here. There's no doubt. So like him and I will always continue to be really good friends, and I hope that I showed him at least how I do my business.
Yeah.
And I put in there like work ethics, #1.
Sure.
Got to commit yourself, and racing at a pro level, whether if you're racing in Europe or in the United States, is no joke. It's very competitive. Just because you don't know these guys' names, you'll know them very soon. They're all very fast. We did the same thing when I came here when I was a teenager. Like, who are these guys? You're looking at lap times, and the guys are like smoking, and you're like, this can't happen, But it's a different world. We all know that, and you have to try to adapt here. And so with him, you know, he struggles a little bit at race day. He's got all the potential. He's a really good rider. He's been banged up a little bit with some injuries, and those might be holding him back a little bit. But as long as I could see some continued, you know, not any big setbacks, I think eventually, and maybe next year, he'll be more of a competitive guy up there. Because, you know, I mean, showing him when he got the third, people ask me, is that a fluke? And I go, well, it's not a fluke, because if you get a third, you get a third.
Yeah.
So it's in them. I know he can do it. I've seen him ride as good as anybody in the United States, even with the guys that the names we know that are fast. I've seen him ride as fast as anybody. He just needs to know upstairs that he belongs there and gets it done. You have to figure it out at one point or another. I can't, like I tell him, hey, I can't twist the throttle for you.
No.
I can give you all my information, what goes on, my mindset, what you need, and then from there it's up to him.
Yeah.
But he's a great kid, and the family's awesome. They treated me great, and I'm always pulling for him.
Good. And obviously we wish Thomas Covington all the best this weekend.
Absolutely.
Finally, before we go, because we are out of time, what is Johny O'Mara doing these days? What are you spending your time doing?
Well, I take on little projects like we just talked about. Right now I'm probably looking for another little job that might make me feel good, you know, for a while. And other than that, I have 2 beautiful kids. I have a 7-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter and my beautiful wife. And then I live in Southern California. And then my other hobby passion is my mountain bike racing. I do quite a bit of that for my, I have my own team. It's called Team Baghouse. And I travel around the United States doing that, and I have a national championship race in about 1 month there that I do every year. So I've got 6 national championships in that for me on the side to add to my motocross stuff, so it's pretty cool. People look at me like, okay, he's done that and that, but that's what I do. And I'm very fortunate. I'm pretty much semi-retired and just kind of pick and choose what I want to do.
All right. Well, look, Johny O'Mara, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here. Thanks to all our guests this weekend. Of course, we had Aleksandr Tonkov and Jake Nichols. But, Johnny O, we are out of time.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for our studio show here in Italy at Maggiora. Of course, we've got all the racing to come tomorrow. So we'll do it all again in 1 week's time when we go to Germany at Teufelstal. We'll see you then. Bye for now. Cool. Thank you.